MSNBC's Joy-Ann Reid has found herself trending on social media once again for her definition of missing white woman syndrome, a term originally coined by the late Gwen Ifill. It's defined as the media and public fascination of missing white women like Laci Peterson and Natalie Holloway, while ignoring cases involving missing people like Jelani Day. Many have pointed out the inconsistencies when it comes to the missing persons case of Gabby Petito. Now, if you remember, the late Patrice Oneal would address missing white woman syndrome, also referencing Natalie Holloway and comparing her case to Stephanie Flores. Dave Chappelle also talked about the same thing in his joke, "How old is 15 really?" Joy-Ann would add, "It goes without saying that no family should ever endure that type of pain, and the Petito family certainly deserves answers and justice." Today on the show, we have our comedy hype analyst Vanessa Fraction in studio, with Capone and Pierre calling in to react to the hypocrisy that people are calling out. Now, before diving in, I want us to take a look at Patrice Oneal's clip of this bit. Let's take a look.
That nigga behind you going, "Yeah, son, I'm with my girl, but yo, for real? That white woman's amazing, isn't she? Tell the truth." He's with his black girlfriend like, "Nah, I don't know, but she's high level. That's a high level white woman right there. That white woman man, oh man, oh man. Black women get mad at that, but that is top shelf white woman right there." You know how you can tell how pretty a white woman is? The value, you look at her and then you wonder how long they would look for if she was missing.
Now, I know we're all familiar with that bit. We've watched it a couple times. It's considered a classic at that point. Vanessa, I want to come to you first, especially with the conversation that is currently current. What are your thoughts after seeing that and kind of revisiting that with things that are happening in the current news?
I absolutely love Patrice Oneal. I love the mastery of his art and the way that he just spun that. You get emotional. He addressed that. I actually was talking about this bit with my husband last night and just like, oh, we should talk about this because that's the brilliance of comedy. Right. You know what I mean? When you can take things that are going on socially and politically and so forth and make excellent points. And I believe Patrice hit the nail on the head with that. And I remember when I saw Elephant in the Room, and he hit that about the value of a white woman is how long they would look for you. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, touchdown. Like that is how I'm feeling. And sometimes we can't put into words, and why is someone not addressing this? And so when you get those great comedy specials where they're really addressing some major things that are going on in society and do it in such a way and craft it in such a way where you cannot help but to laugh, especially when it's like, you know, you black women hate that shit, but it is what it is. And as a black woman, I was like, damn, it is. You know what I mean? Or whatever. So absolutely love that joke. It's taking tragedy and making comedy out of that. That's a fine art to be able to do that. He also has another joke about why he doesn't litter. That is, isn't that Patrice? If it isn't edited out. Point is this, it's great when you're able to, when comedians are able to, do jokes in such a way.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, Pierre, I want to come to you. What are your thoughts on that, seeing that in the climate that we're in?
Well, there's a reason why they call him the great, Patrice Oneal. Whenever you mention his name, many say the great Patrice Oneal. I second everything that Vanessa said. Yeah, it's tremendous. He was a powerhouse. He didn't hold back. I loved him. I loved his act. I knew him a little bit. And he was in their pocket, and he went to the white folks, and it was amazing that he spoke with them. He did mostly white comedy clubs. That was most of his thing. And for him, and he didn't, shy away from political stuff. And that's a good example right there. He brought it right to your face and said, "This is what it is," and he's absolutely correct. And it is the value of how the white woman looks. The nicer she looks, the more they're gonna look for. It's not the same way with other minority groups at all. Nowhere near it.
Right. Capone, I'll bring it to you next. What are your reactions to that?
I'm just a little confused on what we're talking about here. Are we talking about the highlight of how great Patrice was? Or are we talking about how the racism of looking for a white woman instead of looking for a black man or a black person the same way? I'm not, Patrice is great. I think his comedy is great, but I'm not sure what we're highlighting here. Are we talking about right now that is this white woman that everybody's going crazy looking for, when there is a black man that's been missing since August and it's not in news. And I think as we present the news and we're a black people, we shouldn't be given the highlight of this white woman or I just want to know what we're focusing on. I'm really confused about that. Jalen Day is somebody that's been missing. And if we're an outlet to let this out, I think we need to be speaking about that.
It's
like different
No. Go ahead, Vanessa.
I was just going to say that because we are comedy hype news, the hype of comedy is what we speak of. This is something that's very serious, and I thought that was going to be your secondary question, more so about the seriousness of the joke that he told. But the fact that comedians can master our art in a way that you can speak on things that society is dealing with. I'm also able, because we're going through this right now, it was a little hard to laugh because I know this is a serious subject, but the fact that he is so good at what he does and we as comedians can be so good at what we do that we can take something so chilling as, missing people or murders and things like that, but also talk about the injustices that are going on with other people, in terms of that and why we're not taken so seriously. So I thought, Capone, the first part we were speaking about the brilliance of the joke and how it is so hitting the nose on the head about what's going on right now, and then we were going to talk about the seriousness of
and that's
the
what
situation.
I'm saying. For him to talk about that back in the days, which was what that special was 10 years ago, and we're going through the same thing today, it just shows that how brilliant he was, and he talked about something that's unfortunately still going on today. And made it in a comedic way. We had people laughing at it, but laughing at at the pain of it too.
Right, and I think you all bring up a great point because I do think it is important. And Capone, Jelani Day, is important to talk about because we are seeing on other outlets, the young lady being pushed, her name constantly being pushed in front. So I do think it's important, one, to be able to highlight and pull back to Patrice's, that bit because it is back then, but then we're still experiencing that today. So Capone, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on that we can look at something that was over 10 years ago and still have to have a conversation about Jelani Day, who is missing and not in the mainstream. He's been missing for, nearly a month at this point. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's the same thoughts that's been going on longer than 10 years. I mean, as a black man, there's no equality whatsoever when it comes down to things such as being missing or anything else. This has been going on forever. They've just been covering it up. And the one thing that gets to me is that nobody is pressured to talk about this. It's like it just, all right, it flies by and that's it. And you might hear mention of it, but it's not pressed like it's pressed to find this white woman. And I'm not speaking on being a racist. I just think that it's time that somebody speaks up or puts a little bit more pressure onto the things that we see and being unjustly done to us.
Well, let me ask you something, Capone. Can you do that yourself on stage and make it something?
Yeah, I can.
About this issue about Jelani, can you make it now?
Yeah,
the whole thing?
Yeah, I can.
Okay,
I can.
Okay. If you do that, then you're on.
I do it all the time, man. That's one of the reasons why I'm considered to be one of the realest comedians, because I do bring up topics. It ain't just about him. I speak about racism. I speak about how words play. All of that I speak about on my set. And I'm never afraid to speak truth.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's the important conversation, like what Pierre was leaning to, is that we as comedians can bring light to so many things. The reason we're talking about this on Comedy Hype right now is because he created that joke. That brought attention to the fact that people of color are overlooked more than an attractive white woman or what have you. So as comedians, that is something that we can personally do to make our society better. You know what I mean? We have the option, we have an opportunity because we have bigger audiences than most. Any night of the week we're in front of people. And so we have an opportunity to bring light to using levity to bring light to social issues.
Right, and I think Dick Gregory is an example of that, who used his platform to be able to bring some of those things forward into the light. Now, before we head out, Pierre, I do want to make sure I allow you to chime in. I know you responded back to Capone, but if there's anything that you want to add to that question of you know, looking back when you're able to reference something like a Patrice Oneal bit that's over 10 years ago, yes, we've experienced this so much longer than that, but then still having to have that same conversation today. What are your thoughts on that, or just your feelings on that?
And I think everyone spoke their words, and I think it was it's something to heed to listen to, everybody. You know, we as comics, you know, I talk about racism on stage and so forth. I think we need to push that envelope, keep pushing it, just keep pushing it. Just keep pushing it. I mean, you know, people will get tired of hearing it, maybe do some change about it, you know. So, you know.
I think that's a great point. I know, as if I'm being completely transparent, in preparing for this show, like there was some frustration with me about, you know, what exactly are we pushing? You know, I was having conversation with our producers on the show because I want to make sure that, hey, if we're going to mention a problem, how can we be the solution? If we're going to say, hey, we see that this white woman syndrome is, you know, being pushed in the media, and we're a media platform, a black media platform, then let's make sure that we're pushing the right thing. So anytime that we're, you know, prepping for them, especially when it deals with this, I got to have those tough conversations. In those conversations, we also did find a list of people of color that are currently missing today that are not in the headlines. So I am going to take this time as we close out to go over those names. I may butcher some of them, but I'm still going to attempt to say their names because I want to make sure that their name is put on some type of platform, because we have to start somewhere. So it's a black media platform. Let's start out. So we have Donita Wilkerson, Sharon Crawford, Kayla Hunter, Ariana Fitz, Akia Shawnita Eggleston, Erica Nicole Hunt, Kiara Blackburn, LaPromise Effie, and of course, as we know, Jelani Day. Far too many names that are not in the media. We see Miss Gabby being pushed. Condolences to her family, of course. I don't want to disregard that, but it's also important to make sure that we use these platforms for every person, because every life matters. So I appreciate you all for calling in and chiming in on this. This is a big issue. It's near and dear to my heart, near and dear to our hearts. So I appreciate you all for opening up about that. You heard from us. Now we want to hear from you in the comments below. For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.
Put in the comments. I hope they spelled those names out, too.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah, we're going to put it at the bottom.
Yeah.
Put it in the comments.
Do you know the comedy culture? Play Comedy Hype, the game. Out now.